Glad you're with us. My name is Jeff Fine. And voters across the state go to the polls on Saturday. KTBS 3 wants to give you a chance to hear from the candidates. Now, this is something we've been doing for the past several weeks. So let me emphasize, though, this is not a debate. Our goal tonight is to give candidates a chance to share their views on some key issues. We hope their answers will help you decide who gets your vote. Tonight, we focus on Louisiana House District 7 and the BESE board in District 4. And we'll start with the race for BESE Board 4. All three candidates in that race, Paige Hoffpower, she's on the far end there, Stacy Mellerine, closest to me, and Emma Shepard, right in the middle. They are all here with us tonight, so thank you all for being here. We do appreciate it. As I mentioned, this is not a debate, but a forum, and I'll present a question. Each candidate will have 30 seconds to answer. And to the candidates, do not interrupt, please, or direct your answers to other candidates. Remember, our goal is to allow each candidate to share their view. So we start now with question number 1. Describe to potential voters what you consider to be the main responsibilities of the BESE board and why you are uniquely qualified to carry out those responsibilities. And we start with Stacy Mellerine. Stacy, you have 30 seconds to answer, starting now.
Sure. The main responsibilities of the BESE board are to work with the superintendent to oversee education and enact policies and procedures to improve student outcomes. BESE also exercises budgetary oversight. I feel like I'm uniquely qualified to do this, one, because I have skin in the game. I have 3 small children, and they're going to be in public schools for the next 17 years. Also, I've worked for the past decade or more working on strategic planning in both the nonprofit sector and the corporate sector. I've sat on boards before, I've exercised budgetary oversight, and I've enacted policies and procedures and put forth a strategic plan.
All right, very good. Thank you, Stacy. Appreciate that. We move on to Emma Shepard now. I'll repeat the question for you, Emma. It's describe potential voters what you consider to be the main responsibilities of the BESE board and why you are uniquely qualified to carry out those responsibilities. You have 10 seconds, or 30 seconds rather, starting now.
The main responsibility of the BESE board is to make policies. They will have to make governing policies for all the public schools that are in Louisiana. I believe I am best qualified because I am the only educator that is in the race. I have taught, and I have also worked as administrator and a reading specialist. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Emma. We appreciate that. Now we move on to Paige Hoffpower. And Paige, again, what do you consider to be the main responsibilities of the BESE board, and why are you uniquely qualified to carry out those responsibilities? You have 30 seconds to answer, starting now.
Thank you, Jeff. The BESE board is an administrative body that basically governs over 750,000 children in the state of Louisiana. The school districts, it maintains an accountability system. It approves policies that will directly affect the curriculums and things that our children learn. It interprets a lot of data and tests and things like that to see where are the high needs in our areas, what do we need to do to manage the budget and oversight in those areas to make sure they have what they need to succeed.
All right, very good. Thank you, Paige. We'll move on to our second question now tonight. And it reads as follows. Louisiana's education system seems to be the target of constant criticism, much of it seemingly well-deserved. Louisiana seems to always rank near the bottom of educational ratings. So do you feel that's real or simply perception? If you do believe that criticism to be on target, how do you plan to change it? And in this time, we start with Emma Shepard. Emma, you have 30 seconds to answer, starting now.
I believe it's more than just a perception. We do have a problem in Louisiana with our education. And I believe as the BESE board, we need to set policies and look at what is working in other areas in other states and make sure that we are doing the best for our children. We need the best possible educators that are certified and qualified so that we can work to improve the quality of schools in Louisiana.
All right, very good, Emma. We appreciate that. We move on now to Paige Hoffpower. Paige, same question to you. Is the educational system, is that perception or reality? near the bottom of all the rating services. If you believe it to be true, how do you plan to change it? You have 30 seconds to answer starting now.
Well, sadly, we can see the effects on the streets that it is true, but data to back it up, over 40% of our public schools have been identified as needing improvement. We've got 50% of the kids in kindergarten through third grade are just barely scored on or above benchmark. Our ACT levels going down, but sadly, 6% of graduates on a career path are earning advanced industry credentials fully aligned with high demand wage jobs, meaning only 6% are ready to go into the workforce after graduation, and 42% of Louisiana public high schools, then when they're on the college bound, they actually only 42% last through the first year of college.
All right, thank you, Paige. We appreciate that. Now, we move on to Stacey Mellerin. Stacey, same question to you. The perception of Louisiana education near the bottom of all the rating services, is it real? Is it perceived? If it is real and you believe that, how do you plan to change it? You have 30 seconds to answer, starting now.
Certainly. Louisiana schools face a lot of challenges, but where there's challenge, I believe there's opportunity. We can look at our neighbor, Mississippi. They've made huge gains up the scales in our education system. They've gone from the bottom to number 22. We face a lot of the same socioeconomic challenges that Mississippi faces. They've written the playbook for us. We need to work on early literacy skills. If a kid can't read by third grade, they're not going to succeed later on. We also need to work on early math fundamental skills. If they don't grasp those basic concepts, they're not going to grasp later more abstract concepts as they go through the school system.
All right, thank you very much. We are back to continue our look at the BESE Board District 4 race in this year's elections with candidates Stacey Mellerin, Paige Hoffpower, and Emma Shepard. We begin with question number 3, and this is everybody's favorite topic, money. Education and money seem to be inextricably linked. During the last legislative session, teachers did not receive the pay bump they wanted. Rather, they received a one-time stipend. So how important is it to start moving teacher salaries up the scale? And why has it been so hard to achieve in the past? And question number 3, we start with Paige Hoffpower. Paige, you have 30 seconds to answer, starting now.
Well, Jeff, Louisiana loses about half of their teachers in the first 5 years. I believe that is for several reasons. We've got to recruit bright teachers out of high school. We've got to draw people into this field and make it a professional field where we pay good benefits, we give them a good pay, we bring up cost of living standards to the retired teachers. They're very important. These people have been on the front line caring for our kids, and we need to take care of them like we would veterans.
All right, thank you, Paige. We move on now to Stacey Mellerin. Stacey, the question is about money. Why has it been so hard to get teacher salaries bumped up in the past, and will you be able to achieve it? You have 30 seconds to answer, starting now.
Certainly. Teachers deserve a pay increase. That's not a one-time bonus or stipend. Teachers need to know what their salary is going to be each year so they can make a household budget. We need to treat our teachers like the professionals that they are and increase their pay and try to get that at the Southern Regional average. It's how you attract the best and brightest teachers. We also need to give them the classroom support that we need. The funding structure for teachers needs to be simplified. It's a mix of state and federal funds. And as a BESE candidate, I can work effectively with the legislature to ensure that we achieve and gain all the funds that we can to pay our teachers what they deserve.
All right, thank you, Stacey. We move on to Emma now. Emma, the question is about money and teacher pay. Why has it been so hard to get the salaries bumped up the scale? And how would you be able to achieve that? You have 30 seconds to answer, starting now.
I was very saddened when they didn't get the pay raise that they should have gotten. Teaching is the lowest paid professions everywhere, just about. And I just believe that if we want the best, we have to pay them the best. We need to make sure that, they have a living wage. And until we get that, we're not going to be able to recruit or retain the best and the brightest to make sure that our children have the best possible future.
All right, thank you, Emma. I appreciate that. We move on to our next question now. It is question number 4. It reads as follows. Standardized tests. How do they fit into graduation requirements for high school seniors in Louisiana? Is an appeals process part of the equation for students who fail to meet minimum scores on those standardized tests? And should it be? This time we start with Stacey Mellerin. Stacey, you have 30 seconds to answer, starting now.
Certainly. Today, actually, BESE voted to make an appeals process for the end-of-year testing. I've been visiting with some folks that are really disappointed in that decision. The end-of-year testing requirements were enacted to ensure diploma strength in our state. At one time, we were passing high school graduates that were not even reading at a middle school level. That's not acceptable. When a business comes to Louisiana, they want to be able to hire and retain a well-qualified, educated workforce. They need to be able to rely on a Louisiana diploma, that means something, and that we are graduating students with the skills and concepts necessary to succeed in employment.
All right, thank you, Stacy. We move on now to Emma Shepard. Emma, I'll repeat this question for you. It's about standardized tests. How do they fit into graduation requirements for high school seniors? Is an appeals process part of the equation for students who fail to meet minimum scores on standardized tests, and should it be? And you have 30 seconds to answer, starting now.
I believe that standardized tests, they're not the best. Some of them are biased. Some children, they just don't test well. Right now, seniors are required to pass like 2 Englishes, math, and history or civics. So I believe that if they can pass those tests where they are taught, that is the best way to test them. And also, if they have the appeals process, I think that would be fair.
All right, Emma, thank you very much. We move on now to Paige Hoffpower. Again, it's about standardized tests. How do they fit into the requirements for graduating high school seniors? Should appeals processes be part of the equation here? And, well, should it be part of the equation? And you have 30 seconds to answer, starting now.
Thank you, Jeff. Well, of course, we cannot lower our standards. That's not how we get better. But we do need to have aptitude tests. We do need to catch these children before they get to graduating high school seniors to realize they can't read and write or count change. So we've got to change the school system in a very dramatic way to make lifelong learners out of all these children. These are our most valued resources. These are how our towns grow and how we retain our children in the state of Louisiana. We must find a way to keep them and grow them into God's best for them.
All right, thank you, Paige. We appreciate that. Now, question number 5 is about safety. Safety on school campuses has become a much publicized issue across the country. There have been far too many incidents of mass shootings. How concerning is this in Louisiana? What would be the most effective method to harden campuses to dissuade those who would perpetrate evil on Louisiana students? And on question 5, we start with Emma Shepard. Emma, you have 30 seconds to answer, starting now.
Thank you. Safety is another priority I believe that we have to consider with our schools. We hate for our schools to look like prison, but we have to make sure that our children and the staff are safe. And if it takes putting up fence, locks on doors, I believe we have to do that. And money should be in the budget for that. It makes no sense that we have to have drills for active shooters. That never happened during my teaching career. So I just believe that we have to do whatever is possible to save our children and staff.
All right, thank you, Emma. We move to Paige Hoffpower now. It's again about safety, Paige. How is it, or how would it be possible to harden campuses in Louisiana to make sure none of the things like mass shootings that happen across the country happen in Louisiana? You have 30 seconds to answer, starting now.
Well, Jeff, community is a real safe envelope of multi-layered protections of our children. So in terms of the campuses, we can have monitoring systems. There's some really high-tech security systems that can be streamlined to the police in times of emergency. We've got to raise up police officers in this place. Crime is very high, and we don't have many. But with parents being involved, with kids having a moral compass because they can begin to take elective to learn about God, these are the root cause of disintegration in our society, and we've got to address those things if we want crime to come down as well.
All right, Paige, thank you very much. Stacy, we'll come to you for the answer to this. Will be our last question, by the way. We'll read this question one more time. It's about safety on school campuses. It's become much publicized across the country. Far too many incidents of mass shootings. How concerning is it in Louisiana, and what would be the most effective method to harden campuses to dissuade those who would perpetrate evil? You have 30 seconds to answer, starting now.
First and foremost, I'm a mom. I've gotten the text message that your school's on lockdown, and there is nothing more horrifying or sickening to feel than being a parent and getting that message. One of the things that needs to happen is it needs to be budgeted for all schools to have a secure single entry point. A lot of our schools are moving that direction. It is critical. Another thing that needs to happen is there needs to be an SRO officer on campus who is specifically trained to respond in these crisis situations and be our students' first line of defense. That's also a great way to build relationships between our students and the police force. It's a critical need in our school system.
All right, thank you, Stacy. We appreciate that. That completes our look at the BESE Board District 4.